If you make your own bread rather than buying it, it's so much better for you because you don't end up with all the preservatives and additives that the commercially bought breads have in them. Bread making is a lot easier than you might think it is too. There's just a few key things that you need to be aware of. This bread recipe uses sweet potato in it as well for a bit of extra nutrition, and it also gives the bread a nice kind of naturally sweet flavour too, which is really lovely. And I also like to use wholemeal flour in it instead of just using all plain flour for a bit more fibre. Peel and chop some sweet potato, or in New Zealand we like to call it orange kumbra, and then boil it until it's nice and soft and mash it with a bit of salt. Combine some warm water, a teaspoon of sugar and your yeast. Give it a good stir and then leave it for about 10 minutes in a nice warm place. So what's happening here is the yeast is a living thing, so it needs to be kept nice and warm and snugly, and it needs some yummy food, which is the sugar, to eat in order for it to be able to grow and activate. As the yeast eats and grows, it creates air bubbles. It's kind of from the yeast farting, I guess you could say, and that's going to help the bread rise and keep it nice and light and fluffy. In a large mixing bowl, mix everything together. So a couple of cups of wholemeal flour, a cup of high-grade flour, some salt. I like to add some rosemary, but you could also use other herbs, like maybe some thyme would be really nice. A bit of olive oil and the mashed kumbra. Your yeast mixture, which should now be really nice and frothy, and then you just stir it all up. It's best actually if you just get in there and use your hands to mix it all together. And now you've got your dough, which will be quite sticky. So just chuck it onto a floured board, put some extra flour on top of the board and put your dough on top, and then start kneading it. Now this is where the hard work comes in. So you're going to need to knead the dough for about 10 minutes until it's nice and smooth and elastic. There's a little bit of a technique to kneading bread dough, but it's really easy. All you want to do is be going for that push down action, then turn the dough about 90 to 180 degrees, fold it over and then push down again, and keep doing that for about 10 minutes until the dough is nice and smooth and elastic. So what this is doing is it's activating the gluten in the mixture to make it kind of elastic and everything. And then we're going to leave the dough to rest and rise for about 30 minutes, which lets the gluten rest and it also lets the bread rise. Once you've finished kneading the dough, put it in a bowl with a little bit of olive oil so that it doesn't stick to the sides of the bowl, and then cover it with a tea towel and set it aside for about half an hour or so, and in that time it should double in size. At this stage the dough should be nice and soft and spongy, so tip it out and then cut it in half and shape each piece into a loaf of bread. Put that on a baking tray, and now what you want to do is grab a knife and just cut a few slashes, about 3 or 4 cuts on the top of the bread, and then leave it aside again for about another 15 to 20 minutes to do its final rise before we put it in the oven to bake. Yum. Sometimes that's saying that there's nothing better than fresh bread out of the oven with a smear of butter on top is absolutely true.